Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start welcoming you to Gov School. We're now live on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. If you have questions today, unfortunately, our YouTube room is not being monitored, so we invite you to join at our YouTube live as well. Excuse me, at our Zoom live. Thank you.
Hey there, I hear you back there.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start welcoming you to our Gov School today, and we have special guests with us, Dr. Cynthia Harper. She's of course, one of my she is my favorite speaker, and she does a really great job talking with our audience. Everyone loves her. In fact, I'm going to start muting you in the background. It's not anything personal, but it just allows for a better experience for everybody else. And if you do have questions, I think Dr. Harper loves it when you engage with her. So just raise your hand, technically speaking, and that will prompt her attention. But also we'll be monitoring the room. In addition, sometimes you just unmute yourself. We'll try to keep it. It depends really how large this class grows. Today, I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to get into the room before we'll turn this over to her. So welcome again. I'll just tell you a little bit about our services while we're doing this. Nope, I'm not going to remove anybody. If I accidentally remove you, come back. So you can cancel. Trying to omit everybody. There we go. Gov School is a service of Gov Directions. We have a philosophy. First, we want to help you find those contract opportunities. Some 5,000 new bids and proposals issued every day. We're gathering those for our members, world's largest aggregator. The second step is, of course, learning how to win them. This is how Gov School comes into play. We like to have classes with you to teach you and help you learn more about government contracting. We bring you together in these Zoom sessions, as well as we have a number of videos, hundreds of hours of videos, in fact, recorded at GovDirections YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/GovDirections. Still letting everybody in the room continue to do that as we go along. And then that leads us to our third area, and there's sort of a 360 approach where we have Gov Advice. And it's a micro consulting platform where we try to help you as necessary. That's actually where Dr. Harper comes in. She's not only one of our favorite speakers and teachers, but she's also one of our preferred advisors, and we frequently send our clients to her for additional tools, and I encourage you to reach out to her. She's going to provide her contact information in our chat box today so that you can get that as well. But you reach out to us, we'll give it to you, and she'll be sharing that with you as we go along. Still getting a number of folks in the room, so we'll get started here just a minute. As soon as it slows down, I'd like to give everybody just a little bit of time to get into the room. Okay. 4:02. We'll go to about 4:04 before we actually do that and stop. And of course, we'll have a lot of you show up at 5 o'clock because everybody forgets about those time zones, Cynthia Dean. That's maybe one of the things you need to talk about in communication. Because 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, my phone will be going off saying, hey, all these folks are trying to get into the room. So go here. You do have your, if you're unmuted as you come in, please mute. I'm going to be muting you as you come on. It's nothing personal there. We just like to keep the background noise to a minimum when we first start. Okay. Still coming online here. Give them just one more minute here. I think that's slowed down now. Yeah, so Cynthia, I actually will monitor the individuals coming in now, but I want to introduce you, let you go ahead and kick it off. And Dr. Cynthia Harper is here with us today. She is I said it earlier, she's my favorite speaker, and she comes here with full understanding. She's won some big contracts. She's actually has helped a number of others win contracts. In fact, countless others. And she does that in a number of different ways. She's a favorite speaker and author. And so we want to make sure everybody's aware of your book that helps them out. But with that said, maybe you can give them a little bit more insight about your background and why you end up coming to all these sessions for me and helping me out. So I'll turn it over to you, Cynthia. How about that?
Well, thank you so much, Mark. So happy New Year, everyone. Who's excited in the room about this being a new year, 2024? Who has great plans for the year, plans for your business, plans for your own personal life? You know, as a coach and a consultant, one of my favorite things to do is to encourage people to make that's right, that was it Dexane, to make the very best of what you have, to use your gifts and to use them wisely. I think about time. I often think, man, I was just in high school. Well, I'm just not in high school anymore. I'm a big girl now. High school it's a gone. It's yet but a vapor. So I want us to be excited and to take advantage of opportunities that are brought to us. So again, I want to say Happy New Year to you. Before I get started and tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about, I am excited. I released a book last year in the month of August. I became a certified temperament expert, learning and to help professionals understand who they authentically are. What should you do? Should you manage the company? Should you work for a company? Are you better suited as an employee? Or are you better suited as an entrepreneur? Do you like managing people or do you like managing tasks? Oftentimes we don't understand our temperament. And so we go about doing things that seems exciting or that other people are doing, but we need to understand who we are. And when you come full speed ahead in the federal space, it is really important that you understand this is not for the faint at heart. This is the long haul business. This is for people who want to win and who are willing to put in the effort for the win. So I start this off by saying, and whoever can send me the name of the person who quoted this, we'll give you a free cup of coffee. And she said, communication is the lifeline of any relationship. So what are we doing in the government space? We are developing relationships. Why? Because what we're doing is we're taking the skills, the expertise that we have become the subject matter in, and we're offering them back to the largest buyer in the world, which is the federal space. So how do you do that? You've got to be able to communicate effectively. If you are going to be offering any type of services, not just to the federal space, but to even the corporate space, I am certain that many of you all are aware that the corporate giants have taken front and center their place in the government market. And so it would behoove you to understand partnering with large corporate giants, yes, your small company, so you can communicate effective with them, the services you render, because many of them are looking for partners just like you. So let's talk about the first C. Let's talk about connecting. Are you connected? Are you really connected? And do you understand the connection that it takes for you to be a successful government contractor? Because I always tell people this, it's not if you're going to win a contract, it's when. But how do you do that? By developing the right relationships. So ask yourself the question. Let me see, did anybody answer my first question? The quote was, communication is the lifeline of any relationship. Do we have any takers here for a free cup of coffee? Aha, Renelle Bob, she got that. You see, that was the first person that I saw answer the question. Jessica answered it as well. Hey, thank you all so much for answering that. It's important that we understand that we have to form relationships. And so that's what we're doing. We're forming relationships. I ask you this, how many of you have put your name inside of the chat? What's the name of your company? What do you do? Because see, you're not just communicating with leaders that are contracting officers and KOs and the city and the state and the federal. We need to learn to communicate effectively with each other, because together we all know that we can achieve more. And as small businesses, it is be very helpful if we learn the value of unity and sharing so that we can all win together. So let's talk about connecting. What are we going to connect? Who do we connect to if we're going to be in the federal space? Well, ask yourself this question. If you're an IT firm and you're working, Beth does Origami Software Solutions. Does everybody on this call know Beth? No. but she just listed what she offers as a service. It will be just as easy for you to connect with her. And I'm just using her because that was the first one that I saw. It's imperative that we identify each other because we're all small businesses and we need each other. So how do we stay connected? Well, you have people like Gov Directions who are constantly offering to Sweetie Pie. Happy New Year to you too. I hear you there. That's okay. You know, that's what you call life. That little interruption there is absolutely what you call life. So how do you stay connected? There's Gov Directions. What do you do at Gov Directions? You come to training. You learn who are other members of Gov Directions. You take what they give you and you share with others so you can stay in the loop. What about usaspending.gov? Has anyone on this live right now been to usaspending.gov to see who's spending what money in your NACE code? Good, good. That's good. I see Ronell has done that. Tony's done that. Beth has done that. Bert's done that. Mr. Saeed's done that. These are the people who are spending money with what you do. Have you reached out to them? Have you shared? Let's talk about connection. Have you shared your capability statement? When they notice your capability statement, yes, usaspending.gov. Are we connected to the different outlets that would make us a successful entity? What other companies started just like you that when you look at the scale and some of these different agencies, now they start out with zero and now they're doing 50 million, 60 million, 80 million. Do we know who they are? How long ago they started? Who's the person in charge? Have you connected with them and introduced yourself via telephone, via industry days? How do we effectively communicate in the federal space? It's the relationships, guys. It's the relationships because none of us can do this alone. Very recently, I connected with an 8A guru. This gentleman, 28 years with the SBA, he helps secure delegations for all of the SBA certifications. Even myself, I had to find a new partner because the other partner that I was working with, they no longer do that. Why? Connectivity is key. Do I understand? So I don't need to know all the rules and regulations to remain connected. But if he's going to do my 8A, work with EDWSOB, he is the subject matter expert. So we don't always have to be the one in charge or the leader, but we certainly need to know who's doing what. Because if I needed to go to the dentist, I wouldn't go to my chiropractor, would I? So you need to understand, are you connected to the right people, the right organizations that will help you grow your business? Because we're all small businesses today. Because you know what? I've known some 8A companies who started out just like Cynthia Harper. And when they left the business, they were at 800 and 700 million. And that's no joke. People like Eagle Group, they did it and they did it well. It was a brigadier general. And he had a company called the Eagle Group. He employed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of associates because he was connected. He went back in the military and he used his connections. What connections are we using? Are we checking with people, city, state? Because oftentimes when we enter the federal market, most of us just want to do federal contracting. But have you connected to the low-hanging fruit? Are you aware of the contracts that are right in your community, right in your city? Do you know the contracting officers that are right available for you to meet with when they have days and they're explaining what they're looking for? Do you understand that none of us can take on a $50 million contract by ourselves initially without the experience? So how do you garner experience? You connect with people that have it. Let's talk about, anyone have any questions about how do you connect with other groups? How do you communicate effectively with these groups if you don't communicate? So how would we connect? Do we have any questions of anyone who desire to know how to connect with other people?
When we start to at least attend some of the meetings that we might see and hear about in terms of making that connection, networking? kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be important for us to make sure we set aside some time to do that and make sure that we meet at least one or two folks there that we follow up with?
Absolutely. I don't care what I do, sir. I really appreciate that. I don't care what I do. When I go to any venue, any event, whether it's church, whether it's social, professional, I only ask for 1 to 3 connections of myself. But receiving information and not following up with information does us no good. Are we connecting, showing our worth to each other so that we can collectively come together and win? So that's a great way. Show up. That's how you connect. Understand your industry. Understand what you offer in your industry. Let them know that you are available, and all you don't know, try your best to learn. Mark, talk about some things that you do for connectivity. I mean, I know you have to stay abreast of all the latest rules and regulations and first one thing and the other, but what are some of the things that you do at Gov Directions to keep connected?
Well, one thing I actually do is I take a look at incoming members that we have, the brand new members. In fact, we just passed 125,000 members who've registered in some capacity. That's a big number, but so we micro manage that in terms of each day. I take a look and we reach out to every single person that signs up in some capacity, going through and say, please introduce yourself. I'd like for them to send me their capability statements. We load up their capability statements. We present that to contracting officers who are posting for bids in their area. So it's a combination of keeping in tune with what our memberships want. Okay? We also monitor specifically keyword searches on our site, so I can know what we need to do in terms of putting that information in front of them. And as you know, Cynthia, I'm a nerd, so I go out and I actually watch these videos that speeches about where markets are being, where money's being sent at. I try not to get into all the politics. Politics, it's a sausage making business. I understand that, but once a decision is made, then we want our members to be the ones who win those contracts. So we're watching, for example, even the border issue right now, high types of security type equipment that's going to be purchased, and we've already analyzed where that money is going to go, so our members can then seek out those bids whenever they actually are published. So staying in tune with anything with government contract. That's my tips.
Stay in tune, and definitely, like, I don't think we understand, even as small business owners, everything that's happening in the world affects the government market. Everything. So you play an integral part of how successful some of these things that take place. If there is a major disaster in this country, FEMA is involved. Are you connected to FEMA? Maybe you don't have exactly what they're looking for, but are you connected to another group that might be privy to information that you don't have? Connectivity is one of the keys to communicating. Let's talk about being connected in communication with your capability statement. Very recently, I added a new NACE code to my capability statement, added more to my new website. I became a temperament expert where I help people to understand who they are authentically. Well, guess what? Government agencies, they assess people. They've used Myers-Briggs and DISC and all of those people for years. So I do temperament assessment. So now I have to update my NACE codes so that when it is shown, my new information is there and it will connect with who's looking for what I have. Because every day, police stations, sheriff's department, county agencies, they are assessing their people. I might be just the agency they're looking for. Are you continuing to update when you receive a certification? Are you connected enough when people are looking for what they need? Because we all understand, contracting officers are busy and the desk is full of dynamic capability statements. But does yours have everything they need? So as they're looking for a group of capability statements and they're going through and they're looking for just this NACE code, and you forgot to put that up there, and you could have just lost out on an opportunity to participate in a smaller circle. Are you connected? That's one of the C's we need to remember. Stay connected. Keep your information updated. Stay connected to what's happening in your city, because we don't understand that our city and our state are people that we can walk in front of, that we can talk to, we can present ourselves to. And you might know someone that knows someone. And certainly companies are not giving out contracts based upon favor. That's not how it works. But it certainly does not hurt to be in the room with the person who is managing the latest contract for trash disposal, for trucking, for whatever. Ms. Floyd says, where are the best places to find contract networking events? Well, the state, the city, the county, they have them all the time. That's a very good question. I don't know if that's Miss Floyd or Mr. Floyd, E. Floyd. Let me say this to you. Get connected with agencies that are hosting events. There is probably 10 hosted events in every major city a month. Look around you and see who's hosting an event on women events for EDWSB, who's hosting an event for what's coming up with FEMA, who's hosting an event on water release. There is something going on all the time. How do you find it? You look in your local area, your state area, and that's why you need reservoirs like GovDirections, who consistently send out information to share with us what's going on every day.
Say that, Cynthia. Go ahead, Mark. Yeah, I was just going to say, when in the categorization of our information, the very first two, the very first one is awards, and we put those there so everybody can see examples of what other companies are bidding. The second one is industry day, event matchmaking events. And these, as you said, are constantly published, constant opportunities that are there. So I would say about 50% are online, just like this event. And then the other are now went back to in-person events. And so having that capability statement ready to go is a great way to go when you go to those events, or if you go online and you see how I drop mine into the chat box. Most of these systems allow you to do that. Is important. And then I was going to also mention one thing about the capability statement that you were leading to, but the dynamic small business search system is available to contracting officers. And was one of the first things that I do whenever I bring in clients for our RFP writing service. I go through an intake session where we review that information. And that's important that you go up there and see where you're at. And if you don't have your capability section completed, and I would say 9 times out of 10, the ones I talk with don't have it, then they can't find you, because that's a keyword driven system. And you've got to have the capabilities section and the keyword section completed, or you're not going to be pulled up whenever they go to find companies. And so not only is it important to have your statement, it's also important to broadcast that the correct way. Then I also see over and over again, everyone lists their URL for their website.
Yes. You
should list the URL for your capability statement. Just like I showed where yours was at on your website. And whenever you list that in the dynamic search system, so when they click, it goes straight to your capability statement as opposed to your website, which is a lot of glitz, but not a lot of information sometimes. And you want them to go to that document. So I just thought I'd add that to that.
Absolutely. Have you connected your new information to SAMS? A lot of people go through SAMS, but are you, like Mark just said, there was something that I needed to update. And you know what? It kept me out of the competition because I updated it a couple of days too late in SAMS. I say that to you to say this. Don't sleep on the administrative part of connectivity, because everything now is online. We have the ability to work at night when when the offices are closed. Because we're small businesses, we do wear many hats. We don't have large marketing teams. We don't have large social media teams. But are you connected social media? Do people on social media know that you're providing services in the government market? There is so many
I'm
ways.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm really sorry to interrupt. Just to get it clear, I mean, I just started doing this with like a locksmith service. And so to get it straight, so on GovDirections, there is all bids regarding my NAICS code, right? From all over the states. But sometimes they have, and also city has, for example, their bids for, I don't know, like you said, police department wants to change locks. So it's duplicated on the city's website and on Gov Directions, or sometimes there is something be on Gov Directions and something will be on the local state website, or they like synchronized at one place. Because it's kind of impossible if I service, for example, 5 states, and it's kind of impossible to in each state search on each city website for the opportunities. Kind of, or they have it somewhere one place centralized like Gov Directions. That's the question. Thank you.
So Mark?
If you don't mind, I'll be glad to take that question.
Yes.
Just as a quick tutorial, just as a reminder, in our country, we have a home rule philosophy. We want decisions made as localized as possible. And that means we want our city council to decide how they're going to spend city money, or the board of directors of the hospital system, how they're going to spend the money set aside for hospitals, or the airport, or the transit system, or the water and sewer authority. 140,000 agencies approximately that are buying and procuring. That information is everywhere. They'll post it on their websites. They'll post it in newspapers. They'll post it on state bulletin boards in every state. And it once again, completely fragmented, adds to this problem of a business problem of pulling it all together. STAM, for example, is just the federal government. There's no state and local government at all. And so it's important that you understand that, because for you to track all of these release bids, it's virtually impossible. In fact, it's not impossible. It just requires you to invest a couple $1 million and then go out and hire about 20 people like we have done in order to build that aggregated service that then provides information to you. Or you can join a cooperative like you've done here, where we basically pulled it together, all this information. Now, it's posted with us, and governments post about 80% of our information. We're not affiliated with any government. That's by design. Okay, but it's posted, and then they want you to come to their website, almost like an interactive classified ad section, so that when you see a bid, you get all the details, and then you leap through our site to the actual source of the bid itself, and that's where you're bidding. There's no additional fees or expenses. And in fact, you might even see routinely other third-party systems that governments actually use. There's about 40 of these nationwide. They just contribute to the fragmentation. And you can register there, but every state requires them to broadcast that information freely at no charge. And so you may be required to register at that point to download information, but you don't have to pay, and you don't have to register. You don't have to just depend on that site. So a system like ours is pulling all those together, not just working with the ones individually with those governments. So I hope that helps out a little bit. So we're an aggregator. We've been doing this since 1998.
Aggregate the data. That's what they do. Let's talk about contribute. How do you contribute? Well, say you're working on a bid with the government. Do you understand what kind of contract you're working on? There are 4 kinds of contracts. There's the fixed price. There is cost reimbursement, time and materials, and IDIQ, which is indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. My question is, can you afford to bid on a contract if you need to hire staff up front, if you need certain things? Or what are you contributing? When you come to a bid, do you understand what kind of a bid? Because that contributes to, can you afford to bid on that's very good. Can you afford to bid on a contract? Thanks, Mark. I mean, you're contributing to this contracting officer, to this team, to this agency, to whomever, to this corporate giant. Do you understand what's required? That's part of your contribution to them. Do you understand? Can you contribute? Can you speak their language? Can they rely on you to understand the capture part of the contract, the budget part of the contract? Can you contribute in a sense where they view you as an equal partner, as an asset and not a liability? And all of that is a part of is just staying educated on the processes, keeping yourself informed through training, Gov Directions, through training with the SBA, and just being around other associates and professionals who are in the market. What can you contribute to a contractor? Ask yourself that. What do you contribute to the industry? Because evidently you know that you have good skills because you've decided to cast your net. You've decided to be a part of this huge army of people that are looking to buy or sell to the world's largest buyer, which is the government. The government buys everything from water to weight management. The government buys it. The government, you are not limited to what you can sell to them, but in order to contribute to what they offer, you need to make sure, and that's why these certain agencies like GovDirections and USA Bid, spending.gov, and just on and on and on, they will let you know who won this last year. How much did they win? Have you contributed to information so that you will not be left in the dark? Because you are bidding against people that have won contracts multiple times. And then another thing is, just because they're bigger or just because they've won over and over again, it doesn't mean that they're going to win the next one. And we tend to think that. No, if you can afford to put your bid in, I ask you to do it so that you will not. And that's another thing. Someone said earlier, I read something, I was going to answer that question. What is the best way to nurture those connections? You should be proactive in sending out your capability statement on a regular basis. If you know a contracting officer and he or she buys the services that you offer, a capability statement is key. You should be sending it to them even when there's not a bid. That's how you begin to nurture relationships. At industry days, do you contribute? Communicate with people that are there about your services. Because you know that you are excellent at what you do, you've decided to offer it to people. So certainly you're not going to position your company in a place where you don't understand what's going on. Because it is your company, it is your reputation. You do have to fulfill these obligations. So you know that you can do the work. But are you on top of what needs to be done? Are you streamlining your process when you actually work on a bid? Ask yourself that question. When you commit to working on a bid, have you streamlined the proposal process? Do you understand the process that you're working with? Have you made it? Have you narrowed down the choices and made yourself attractive enough where you rise to the top? These are things that we have to do to communicate with the government in particular, because everything now is so Zoom and we don't always get to meet people face to face anymore, because we know relationships are how business is done. You can be the best company in the world, but you still need relationships. It's wonderful to have an amazing service that you offer. But if you offer diversity, equity, inclusion, who are the people that know that you do that? Does anybody in the government market know you do that other than yourself? Are you writing to those different officers or emailing and sharing, asking questions? You want to nurture a relationship? Ask questions. Make yourself available to ask questions so that people will know, oh, I know about that question, she or he. No, they know exactly what we're looking for. They have an understanding. So what do you contribute to your industry? Have you decided to get a certification that would make you a bigger fish in a pond? Or are you thinking that you can just do it without delegations and certifications and plans and goals and training and studying? Because everything in the government market changes a lot. The conversation this time last year was different than what it is now. And we're also in the process of political things taking place. It's really important that you watch the industry if you're going to be successful in it. Mark, talk about contributing different aspects in the government market from the vantage point of an agency like yours who offers so many services. Oh, I like this question. Harry said, how do you find those officers to communicate? Well, if you ever see a bid that's being released, there is a person's name, there's an email address and a phone number. Are you nurturing? Are you developing a rapport with that contracting officer at that given moment?
I think what you just said too is about the names available, and you will find that every government's profiled in some way. The thing, we collect this data, and we can pull that data for you as part of information that we distribute, but it changes frequently, and so it's always good to kind of go back and take a look at some of the bids that are active or recently awarded and see who the contracting officer was, And then that actually provides a way for you to communicate with them without just spamming them of some sort. And a lot of times ending up into their spam folder, as opposed to, if you approach them and say, hey, I saw that you had this proposal out for RFP number such and such. In the future, please consider us for these type of services, because it's not the first time that they bid that out, and it's not going to be the last time that they bid it out. And so this is a way for you to really get it, to get it across their desk, and to know that in the future that they'll respond to you. Now, if you go in and you actually just blast them in a lot of different letters, you're not going to get responses back. And so you need to engage with them in a conversational way. Oftentimes, I always do the question. This is the way I ask. I try to introduce. I said, ask them for your advice. How can you give me some advice on how to make sure that I'm included in the next go round? And then they'll respond to you, because they love it when you ask them for advice. Okay. And the other thing is, make sure at the federal government level that you go in and do, I like a lot of acronyms. So I call this the IVL test, Cynthia. I'm not sure if I told you what that is, but it's the interested vendors list. Okay. So nowadays, this is something that's new. It's not on every contract. So yeah, I might have to bounce around a little bit, but the federal government is allowing you to go in and say, if you're interested in a contract, you have to be logged into SAM to see this, but it's going to fall under the awards on many of the new bids. And it goes directly to the contracting officer. And so if you approach them that way, they typically respond back to you. If you just to go to the main announcement and then drop down and you'll see a contact, you send that information, you typically don't get a response. So it's a different way to approach them as well. And they're not receiving as many inquiries on there. And you can actually see others that have reached out to them. And you can start collecting that data for your future needs. And and as another part of the overall SAM system, specifically at the federal level, we carry this down to the state and local. But the FPDS system basically is the forecasting mechanism. Say, here's where they're going to spend money. Pay attention to that, and then pinpoint your information as it goes out, and then you reach out to those that are actually in your marketplace in the near future. And we do that also at the state and local level. For example, here in Georgia, the state legislature is meeting. And you know what, Cynthia? They're going to spend $2 billion in contracting this coming year in Georgia, because they have, just like every other state, which is now we're going to approach a total $7 trillion marketplace in federal, state, and local bids this coming year. They've got money to spend. And so they're now talking about how they're going to spend that money. Follow along at the state. You may not care about anything else, but care about money and care about where they're going to spend it at the state level specifically, and pay attention to those hearings. That's just a great way. And then introduce yourself in the appropriate way. Absolutely. I think some hands are getting raised. You can ask them.
Mr. Saeed's hands raised. And then we have a question here from Mark. He says, are bids for healthcare services listed under a separate dedicated website? Well, Mark, you aggregate that kind of data every day. The bids for healthcare services are not listed under a separate site. They are a part of the government bidding process, from my knowledge, like everything else is. What do you say about that, Mark?
That's correct. We in fact serve 200 industries now. And so there's actually a couple different, actually about 5 different categorizations that we use in order to present this bids to you. Because at the federal government level, they use a NAICS code system. That's the North American Industry Classification System. State and local governments do not use that. The most dominant way at the state level is the NIGP Commodity Code, National Institute for Government Purchasing. But even still, all of these coding systems really were there before the advent of keyword searches. You can go through and you can search keywords, find those bids, and we allow you to do that on our RFP delivery. But we also classify every single bid in one of about 5 different health industry categories, from consulting to equipment, and then to services, and then supplies. Okay. And even on trades, if they're going to be building a new health facility or rehabbing a lab. So they're cataloged there. So you don't have to go to a different site. We're pulling them all together in one location for you.
The data is all aggregated there. Mr. Saeed, yes, sir.
Yes, thanks for that information. But I had a question. So a lot of services that don't really go up to like a necessary RFP, maybe they're under a certain threshold, or a lot of government use like a P card. How do you get it in front of them? Because I know it's like a constant marketing to those maybe facilities managers or those procurement officers. Do you have any suggestions? And then how does your gov tool, does it allow us to kind of see that information, or do you have other services that we can contract with you to help us with that?
A lot of what you refer to there is micro purchases. Micro purchases are transactions that are below the threshold. They are still broadcast in various pieces of data. We gather that information for you, either in a forecasting method or putting details in front of you that will allow you to determine which agencies are potentially procuring in that area. But the number one way to get in front of them for those type purchases is at their industry days, their trade shows that they would potentially reverse trade shows that they do. But also they generally announce that through the mass system in the very beginning of any fiscal year to get on these catalogs, going through that process. Now that's always good to add these to your portfolio, but maintain the interest specifically in active bids. Those are primarily used for the very large agencies that are buying at that capacity. Everything that you see on our own RFP delivery and Gov Directions, one of the questions that we had, that you had just there briefly was, what's the difference between our two sites? RFP delivery we launched last year is more of a specific geospatial analysis of information, as well as pulling together additional tools in AI and other search mechanisms to allow you to actually go in and search every single bid by location. You can see those bids that are potentially at by state. You can drill into every one of these. I noticed the other, somebody said, I didn't know that each one of these is a bid. Well, each of these actually is an agency who has a bid. They can have multiple bids. So we're not showing all 44,000 bids here, but you can then go through various. So for example, just on the medical side here, consulting, dental, medical is one of those categories. You can see just those bids that are related to medical. Okay. In micro purchases, governments can, and I would say that a good percentage of our bids, probably 20 to 25% are micro purchases of some way. And those bids are broadcast. We have a broadcasting mechanism where individuals can come in, governments can come in specifically and use our announcement system to allow them to announce an RFP to reach you. And that allows them in a quick manner to do a quote or some sort of capacity to allow you to bid on those. Gov Directions feeds this information. The good thing about RFP delivery is and Gov Directions is our mechanism has been in place since 2006. It is loved by many, and it's a simple way to actually go in and bid and see data. And it does not have all the additional tools and robust tools that we thought were necessary in order for us to really be able to come up and provide you with more information. But you can see them in a linear way as the bids come in. We're adding 2 to 3 bids a minute. RFP delivery then supplements that with additional information. And so you actually see more bids in more locations with going down to the actual block level. So you can see the information. So more tools. Your username and password works at both sites with our system. Okay, so it's not a nickel dime situation. We're just giving you more tools at solid rates there. And so I hope that kind of explains some of the differences between the two of those, but also the whole concept of a micro purchase. But whenever you see those bids, we put those in front of you, just like we put the other ones.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Nixon, Samuel Nixon.
Yes, thank you very much. I had a question. I think I was going to ask I had seen, I think, GovDev a little while ago, and when I spoke with you all then, one of the things I saw that it was when we talked, I guess the pricing for your services was pretty steep. So I'm not sure, and you may have already touched on this because I had to step away for a moment for a phone call. But I was going to ask in terms of the accessibility to using your services, how would a small business that is just kind of getting up and running be able to maximize your services at an affordable way? Because I think that when I spoke with you last, it was something like either a contractual piece for over $1,000 or something for your services at that time. And that was a little bit high. So I didn't know if you have either different levels or different ways of contracting without having to do a year-long contract or doing something like. I see you have the monthly costs up there. So,
And in comparison to other agencies, our prices are very affordable. And so we're not going to get into no price point argument, but I can tell you this, for what we offer, you can't, I don't know, it's fair and equitable.
yeah.
I would just add to that, Dr. Harper, Cynthia, our pricing structure was always built around the concept of affordability. The first thing about our system is 80% of the information is completely free. So you can go in and not only see all federal listings at no cost at all, period. And then all our content on YouTube channel, period, free. It's available to you, as well as sample documents that we have built there for you. So you can have that information. You can announce a good faith efforts to actually recruit others in tools to go in with together on contracts, free. So a premium option is basically our state and local information, and it's the aggregation of that detail. And so there, we don't require any long-term contracts at all. So it's monthly, month to month, as long as you like. We do give you discounts. If you choose an annual, there's 2 months at no charge. And if you hang around a little bit, you're probably going to receive an email from me that's going to offer you a discounted rate of some sort. Now, when you engage with our Gov Advice section, you engage noted experts, subject matter experts. You have a wealth of knowledge. And those prices, I still think, are very affordable at my hourly rate. I know, Dr. Harper, you work with our clients frequently at rates that are, just sometimes I wonder how you're able to do it. And so that's there, but that saves you tremendous amounts of money. Okay, so you're not having to go through that learning curve.
Which section is that? I'm sorry, I just said, so if we engage with which section? I didn't hear it.
Which section is our Gov Advice section? So let me just, I forgot to allow you. Some people can mark up on this, and I apologize. You should not be able to annotate. Okay, and so I've changed that. But Gov Advice is our micro consulting platform. And so when you go into our system at our primary page, you can go into to our services at your dashboard, and you're able to see GovSchool. GovSchool is our platform and also at YouTube Live. Hundreds of hours of videos that are there for you, and then including many from Dr. Harper. And then you also have our Gov Advice services. From learning how to write RFP responses to joining together in sessions. Dr. Harper helps with capability statements, and also learning how to price your bid. These are sections that we help a la carte, and we have frequently sessions like this where you're invited to come and talk and learn, and at no pricing point there. Our primary search mechanisms put data in front of you with all the titles. And frankly, you could take any of these. You could take that and Google it if you don't. But then you'll quickly find that that's going to you're going to spend a lot of time, and it's wasted. And you'll see the value of our aggregation service as well. Yeah, thank you for your question.
No, I was going to say I appreciate that. What I wanted to ask is, so if I'm understanding correctly, we can actually sign up for month to month and do the.
That's correct.
There without obligation for any annual piece, and then we also. The 80% that's free versus the part that costs, is there a distinguishing piece on your website that shows that distinction, or you have to kind of go searching through the website to see which parts are
a good question, and that a big part of that is yes. The short answer is yes. State and local is marked, okay, and so you see that's our primary and then federal government is marked as well. So you know which ones are, and not only that, but also tell you what stage of development it's at. So if it's a solicitation or a pre-solicitation or award, it's all there, and it spells that out for you. And so as a federal government one, you would be able to see right away. They're also identified in the free daily email alert that comes to you, and that information is presented to you such a way you click through and you get to the details. With that. And so if there is a premium requirement, it tells you that. Now, I don't want to kid you, for every federal government contract, you're going to find in most businesses, there's 20 state and local government contracts. Most of us don't understand that when we first start. We think federal government's where all the business is at. It's not. Most of your business is at their state and local market. Okay. And so that's why we're able to do that and provide it that way. But we have a good significant portion of our customers who just use us for free services, and we value just as much as those that are paid.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
No, I appreciate that. And so I can look and see that that's the free part there. And the ones that cost, I would just see a notation so that says this prices.
Yeah, and I would also, as we're moving to other clients who have questions here, I would also point out that we have this little handy little list Zoom, and you can engage with us in a very quick way by Zoom sessions, just by clicking through, and we'll give you 20-minute sessions at no charge. And so you can have an open discussion. You can ask us about bids, and you can we engage with our membership. And I'd just like to point that out.
Okay.
So Samuel Nixon has his hand raised.
Thank you. That was me. I'll lower hand. Thank you for your.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. That was you. Okay. Harry?
Yeah. So basically, first of all, I mean, $40 per month, it's nothing for opportunity of having life-changing probably contract. I mean, $40 is what? 2 Starbucks and a Subway? Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, for possibility to get like contract, maybe change your life and company. So, but basically, I wanted to ask about subscription for GovDirection and RFP. So basically, there is no need for me to have both. Like I tried the premium. I mean, oh, okay, I will have Starbucks for a week, but I decided to go with premium. And so there is no reason to buy two subscription for GovDirection and RFP delivery, because it's basically pumps the information from there, right? Or it's
That's
will be
correct.
Okay, that was my main question. And again, I would just appreciate your work. I mean, this is like super easy. It took me 5 minutes to understand what to do. I went to Sam and I wanted to get drunk because it was impossible to understand where to log in. Goddamn. I mean,
yeah,
this site is super easy. Like kids can actually bid on this. So yeah, thank you for that, guys. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. We've never met before. He's not a plant, just so everybody knows. But thank you for that, for those comments. That's very helpful. I would just share with you that I actually kind of like the way the SAM is getting to. It's been a couple years in the making. I've been around to see 3 iterations, but every single bid SAM is in our system. Okay, so we have a direct API with them, and so you have quick access to that information. Just like you're not going to miss anything in SAM if you use our site. And I would just add to that, you also see all the bids that would you normally see at the Navy Bulletin Board, as well as the bid system in the Defense Logistics Agency and other places that also don't quite make it to the same presentation. But they do a really good job, and I would just say that they're more recently what they've been doing is working very well. So I don't know. What do you think about SAM, Cynthia? I know you probably use it daily.
Well, yeah, SAM's is getting better and it's easier. It used to be so convoluted, but no, once you get your UEI number and your cage code, and what I like about SAM's too is they will answer you. They call you back.
That's right.
They are available for us. So I like SAM. I have clients that ask me to sign them up for SAM and register them on a regular basis. And the 2 websites could confuse GovDirections. Okay, we need to look at that. Yeah, I like SAM too. SAM's is great. And it makes you keep your information updated. It really does. I appreciate SAM's. Jessica, I know your hand has been raised for a while. Tell us what your question is.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for all this wealth of information. I am in the power washing industry, and I've identified the 3 top agencies I want to work with. So prime example, number 1 being NCDOT. I've identified events that they have, and there's a wealth of just events and engagements that they have. And when it comes to tracking what you show up at, for example, I connected with them and they told me, show up at these pre-bid meetings, because they may not be looking specifically per se for that service power washing, but they may need you. And so as you're making those connections, what would be your best advice, and what's the biggest mindset shift you've had to make in this space so far?
So I came out of corporate America, which is a little different than the government. And my mindset was to learn to hurry up and wait. My mindset was to learn to be ready when they call me, because it's not always at my leisure or my time. A contract might be released and then something might happen that is pulled. So would I still have to stay ready and prepared? Also, even in the government market, in terms of if they don't need what you have now, continue the rapport. And that's a part of connectivity. That's a part of contributing and collaborating. Continue the rapport with people that are doing what you're waiting for it to be done for you. Because we never know when the gauntlet is dropped and said, go, let's connect, let's collaborate. That's another thing. And that's why joining certain agencies, not agencies, certain organizations where you have access to larger giants or people, or where you can develop the rapport where you can do business with them. But the greatest thing you can do is to narrow down, take yourself out of the big pond. And if you need to become EDWOSB, and I'll just use that for it because it's a woman, economically disadvantaged woman on small business, make sure that you have the certifications, because they have to identify that with you. They have to have, they're looking for you. So whatever you can do to make yourself attractive, whatever you can do to make yourself stand out, because they might not have power washing this month or next month. And then someone else might win it. But because you've developed a rapport with the agency, the officer, those that are involved, you might be the one that they say, hey, you know what? We've been speaking with the small business. Give them a call. That happens a lot in the government market.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Cynthia, I really thank you for coming today. I promised an hour or so. I don't want you to feel obligated to hang on here forever. I'll just quickly summarize a couple of other questions, and I want to thank everybody for coming today. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to stop the YouTube live. So thank you for all